We are here with the governor, aspiring candidate for governor of Imo State in Nigeria, and we're we're having a conversation to find out his plans to help the state and to bring change to Imo State. So, sir, our main question right now is the issue of unemployment. As you are well aware, there's over 80% of unemployment within our youth in Imo State. How on earth are you going to tackle this problem?
That is really one of the challenges that any administration can face. When you have a very productive section of the society, high school graduates, university graduates, finishing and then nothing to do. That breeds crime, it breeds all kinds of frustration within the society, and that is probably the biggest challenge that we will face if we are given the opportunity to govern Imo State. But luckily, we are prepared for that. We're giving it a lot of thought. Having lived in the United States for all these years, we've been able to develop contacts all over the world. You know, America is a melting pot. And because of the business associations that we have been able to develop over the years, we have actually pulled some of these people, and they are really ready to come and do business in Imo State. All they are looking for is a credible, honorable partner.
So I get it. So what you're saying in effect is that because of your relationship with a lot of companies in America, you know, and the diaspora, that you're going to use that, you know, relationship and manpower or know-how or people connections and come and establish some strategic things in Imo State.
Absolutely. That's exactly what I was saying, yes.
Well, that's great. And is that why I've been hearing something about United Medical Center? What is that all about?
And that's really one of those thinking from one of our eminent Nigerians living in the diaspora, who are very much concerned about the medical care in Nigeria. He developed this concept of building a tertiary care center in a very strategic position in the eastern part of Nigeria that will begin to reduce the number of people that are going overseas, especially to India, you know, for medical care. Luckily, that happens to be my field. My wife is also a physician, and so we really have a whole lot to contribute towards making Imo State the medical tourist center of not only Nigeria, probably of the rest of Africa.
Wow, that's amazing. That's a big achievement if you can do that.
Yes.
Of course, I'm rooting for you. Okay. All right. So, Dr. Kpaduwa, you are the aspiring governor for Imo State, and I understand there's no other person, you know, vying for this position from the diaspora, so that gives you a big edge coming from the United States, you know. And I understand that unemployment is over 80% in Imo State. How on earth are you going to tackle this situation?
Great. You're correct. It's most probably over 80% unemployment among the youths in Imo State. And these are youths who have gone through 4 years of college. Some of them high school, come out from schooling, there's nothing to do. So the first thing that our administration is going to do is to cut down on that unemployment rate. And how do we do this? Let's take agriculture for one thing. We will encourage mechanized agriculture in Imo State, expand it, and then also bring in some industry that is tied towards the agricultural products that we have in Imo State. For example, the palm kernel. the palm oil, the cassava. These are all cash crops that can be refined into things that can be exported out of the country. It gives us an opportunity of agri business in Imo State, and that will create a whole lot of jobs.
Well, that makes a lot of sense to me. If you can carry out all the stuff that you just mentioned, you're tapping into the resources that is the Imo State is richly blessed by. That's great. Now, also, I understand you having a medical background, and your wife is also bona fide certified doctor, and has a good practice in America. How will this tie in to Imo State?
Obviously, I mean, that is my wife's and I's terrain, the medical profession. I've been practicing medicine now for about 30 years. And one of the things that we really hope to do is to improve the medical infrastructure in the state. And that also creates an avenue of employment for the youths.
Right.
There's really nothing that stops us from making Imo State the mecca of medical care, not only in Nigeria, but even across the rest of Africa. Mm-hmm. That is, we build and operate some very fine hospitals with some very specialist care, also not ignoring primary care, and then create an industry, a medical industry out of it. We can now begin to manufacture not only medications, right, but all the other things that go into the running of a hospital.
Right.
IV fluids, syringes, you name it. We can go and start manufacturing those things, and thereby cutting down on the youth unemployment.
Well,
Great.
That sounds like a very big task. If you can carry that out, I'm definitely sure that will reduce unemployment by the 80% is going to be cut down by half, or if not more, because you want to build a medical facility that is of the standard that you can find in America and the rest of the world.
Absolutely, and it can be
have
done.
Some big hopes for Imo State.
Yes.
Now, talking about infrastructure, there's something very popular in Calabar, which is a film village. They have this film festival every year, and people come from all over the world. People have been looking forward to going to Calabar, because of this film festival. Mm-hmm. Do you have any hopes like that for Imo State?
Absolutely. One of the things that have been thought about but has not really been carried out is the development of Uguta Lake as a tourist attraction.
Wow, that's a big
Absolutely.
project and
Yes.
a worthy project, okay?
You can have the Uguta Lake, you can have associated with the lake, in fact, because there's a vast amount of land, around the lake, you can actually have golf courses.
Wow, that's a great
You
project.
can have all kinds of sports built into the infrastructure within the lake, to make it a big tourist attraction. Absolutely.
Wow, that's nice that you mentioned Uguta Lake, because my mother was born in Uguta. My mother is actually from Uguta.
Is that right?
Yes. that would be really great if you can do something there.
Yes.
Because I would love to go visit my mother's birthplace and origin.
Absolutely,
So
yes.
something like Uguta Lake, building
Yes.
a structure would
Yes.
definitely take me there. So
No question
I'll bring
about
my
that.
friends from here. We'll go see it. So
And
that's
then
a great plan.
and enjoy yourself, because
Right.
you go there to relax. Do you play golf?
I play golf.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, we will have one of the best golf courses
Wow,
around,
wow.
And Nigerians love to play golf.
True,
So you can imagine how many people, tourists, what kind of a tourist attraction Uguta Lake with all those golf courses will be like.
That is true. That is true. Now, I mean, your plans are wonderful. A part of services in Nigeria. Well, this will bring me to my next line of question, which is concerning electricity. Electricity, or the lack thereof, is a very big issue in Nigeria. What plans do you have to make this better?
You're very correct. It's actually one of those limitations of industrialization in Nigeria. because you can't run a large industry on a power plant that is run by diesel. It becomes so expensive.
Right.
Luckily, the federal government of Nigeria is now doing a whole lot to alleviate that problem. They have commercialized the power generating plants in Nigeria. They are also moving into privatizing the distribution system, which really is a big problem, because even if you generate a whole lot of power, if you don't have the means to distribute it, the power means nothing.
Correct.
We're hoping that the government will continue in that direction, and at some point, Nigeria will be energy sufficient. But in addition to that, Imo State is one of the oil-producing states, and there's a whole amount of gas reserves, especially around the Egbema Uguta area.
Right.
There's nothing that stops us from looking into building refinery, in these areas, with the mind of generating power, from the gas, generating power, and also looking into the petroleum products. And that's another area of creating an industry that will employ the youths.
Right. Well, that's a great plan that you have there. Well, with the issue of baby boomers, people hitting retirement age, and it's becoming a global phenomenon. I don't think there's anything like retirement homes or proper care for the elderly in Nigeria as a whole. How do you, being in the medical, having a background from the medical field, how can you bring a change in this area?
Well, first of all, let us talk about the average lifespan of a Nigerian. It's really about 48 years old.
Wow.
So most of the Nigerians die young. Wow. So it's only the very few that live up to that age. And then luckily within our system, we have the extended family system that takes care of the old elderly ones, right? And not only that, Nigerian children know that it is their responsibility to care for their parents, but as the society progresses and then Nigerians start living much longer, we will borrow from the Western world. We will have some social services. By that time, the country will be capable, at least financially, of taking care of the aged. We will not reinvent the wheel, looking at what happens here in the United States. The government has the Medicare system that takes care of the medical problems of the aged. That's part of the problems that the old people have, so medical-wise. And then they also have a lot of nursing homes in the United States. We'll borrow from that idea, and it will work. First of all, I think we have to have a thriving economy, that will push a whole lot of Nigerians into the middle class, improve the environment, they will live longer, and all those things will fall in place.
Well, you seem like you're a man on a mission here. And even though all the stuff you've talked about, you give out some very clear point, detailed, information about what you plan to do. I wish you the very best.
Thank you.
I'll pray for you. I hope your goals and aspiration will come true. But one last word before we wrap up this session. The issue of terrorism doesn't make things any better, with people forced to depart this earth at any time. It's just it's an alarming rate, and it's very worrisome. What, as the governor, what would you do to curtail this, or what would you do against terrorism and Boko Haram?
Well, most of the terrorist acts is actually in a particular part of Nigeria, at least for now, and it's around the northeastern and the northwestern states. If you look at some of the reasons being given for these acts of terrorism, is massive poverty among the inhabitants of this area. It is easy enough for somebody who doesn't have a job, who doesn't have any means of livelihood, to be recruited into something like the Boko Haram than somebody who is of the middle class, who has gone to school,
Right.
and who has a decent job.
Right.
You know. So one of the ways that will be used to reduce this terrorism in Nigeria is actually improvement of the economy of the nation all over the nation. That is, no part of Nigeria should be left behind.
Right.
Now, if specifically in Imo State, if we are able, to bring the dividends of good governance to the state, we have industrialization, we have the reduction of youth unemployment. That will boomerang. That would boomerang, and other states will take note. And their sons and daughters also in different parts of the world will take a cue for from what we're going to do in Imo State. And before you know it, it will spread all over the country, and thereby increasing the development of the country.
Wow, well spoken, well spoken. Indeed, you're a learned man, and I see your vision and a very clear-cut, precise line of action. Now, I know, on easy lies the head that wears the crown. It's easy to point fingers at the president, Goodluck Jonathan. I'm sure he's done some good things. Can you elaborate on some of the things he's done positively? And if you were in his shoes, what would you do differently concerning these girls that were kidnapped in Chibok?
One of the good things that the present administration has done, that is Goodluck Jonathan's administration, is actually to have a free and fair election in Nigeria.
That's amazing what you're saying. That's great. But right now we have an issue at hand, which is current pressing. I mean, kids have been kidnapped. I mean, I have a 3-year-old daughter. If my daughter was kidnapped, I would lose it. I'll probably go commando. I'll be a one-man wrecking crew like Arnold Schwarzenegger. So what message do you have for Goodluck Jonathan, for the families of the Chibok girls right now? What plan, if you were the president, what would you do to get these girls back to their families and to safety?
One good thing that President Goodluck Jonathan has done is to accept help from other countries who have a whole lot more experience dealing with terrorism, like the United States or Israel or any of the European countries. They have a whole lot more resources that they can bring to bear in terms of intelligence and otherwise. So I was really, really happy when President Jonathan agreed to receive outside help, And the other thing also is to equip our own security forces, especially the military, with intelligence, with sophisticated weapons. Treat the other ranks very well. That is, pay them well, make them happy, boost their morale, and they'll be prepared to fight terrorism in Nigeria.
Okay, good. But I'm still on this issue because I'm just so, I'm so passionate about it because right now, there's been different events in America, Americans and people in the diaspora are chipping in, doing stuff, raising money for this cause. You are governor. This happens today. What would you do now to bring these girls back?
Specifically, getting help. Nigeria is really limited in its resources. We don't have the adequate intelligence. So the United States of America has offered that help. They have the drones, they have other means of detecting things, So I will go to the rest of the world and say, please, help me.
Thank you. Thank you very much, because you can have too big an ego not to ask for help in areas, especially areas that you don't have expertise. So that's a great solution.
Yes.
Now, can you look into the camera and say one message to the families of these girls, a word of comfort, a word of hope, whatever you feel as a future leader of a state, that will be dealing with this kind of issues, hopefully soon.
One thing that I will have to say to the families of those young girls that are suffering under Boko Haram kidnappers is, number one, don't lose hope. Keep hope alive. Keep praying for those girls. Keep praying that other countries will bring the resources that will help Nigeria free those girls. And one day, these girls will come back home to the glory of God.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure talking with you. And we wish you the very best in your campaign for Governor of Imo State. Come 2015, we hope you will ascend to the throne.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. And at my inauguration, you are going to be there.
Wow, that's amazing. Thank you very much.
All right.